All right, we're going to talk about breathing. This is one of those things that some people think is real important. I kind of think it kind of works itself out over time. Damn, one of these days I'll remember to turn this thing so I can see what I'm aiming at. Sorry, people. Don't complain too much, it's free. You know, people want to complain. Breathing. Why is breathing important with shooting? Well, one, you got to have oxygen to remain calm. Okay, yoga, anything, exercise, you need oxygen. When you're scared or you're stressed or you're running for your life or you're working out, you need more oxygen, so you breathe more. When you're thinking a lot, you need more oxygen, because if you lose oxygen, you lose ability to think. When playing in the Air Force, when pilots go through training and when you're flying a lot and they talk about the oxygen mask, put your mask on first before you help your kid. If you try and put your kid on, you're going to end up going out and not helping your kid or yourself, and you'll end up dying. Put your mask on first. You need oxygen in order to think clearly, to process things. A lot of shooters hold their breath when they shoot. Okay? They get out here, they want to practice all those things: grip, stance, sight alignment, sight picture, and this trigger squeeze. They're concentrating on all of this, they forget to breathe. Okay? I do horses' feet, and a lot of farriers, if you're a farrier, somebody that works on horses' feet and do the horseshoes, the number one thing at farrier school they teach you is to breathe. When people are working on feet, you're bending over, you're trying to concentrate on the hoof, you're balancing it, you're rasping, you don't want to hurt the hoof, you're concentrating on the horse so he don't kick you, forget to breathe. So after 4 or 5 strokes, you're like, man, I'm out of breath. You got to sit down, you got to go away. Same thing with shooting a gun. You want to breathe. So holding your breath is not good. Now, with that said, if you go to sniper school, if you go through some school where they want to perfect your long-range shooting, breathing becomes more important. Because if I'm not breathing, my gun is like this. If I'm breathing normally, my gun's got a little move. See that movement? Because my chest is filling up with air. I'm exaggerating a little bit so you can see. If I'm really jacked up because somebody's shooting at me and I'm like, the pucker factor's kicking in, I'm like, holy shit, I'm about to die. Your breathing becomes more critical. So when people talk about breathing, I don't think it's something that you have to concentrate on so much. But like when I was talking about in the earlier films, when cops yell at people, stop resisting, stop fighting, get on the ground, show me your hands, verbalize things, it forces us to breathe, it keeps oxygen going in and out. Because when you're stressed, sometimes your breathing stops. A lot of things shut down when you get in those crises. Keep talking about that fight or flight. I'll get to that video probably here, hopefully later. It's kind of cloudy out there and I already work with the horses, so I'm just in here making these 10-minute videos. It's easier because I ain't got to worry about planes and horses and all this other stuff. These videos are easier to make. I can knock out a bunch of them pretty quick. So, breathing. What is really important about breathing? One, don't stop. Okay, that's pretty common sense. Rick, that's common sense. It is common sense. Ain't nothing common about common sense. 2, if you catch yourself holding your breath, you're going to notice things called jitters or the shakes. Or as you've got your sight alignment, your sight picture lined up, you're going to notice a little shaking, tremors, hand tremors, muscle tremors, because you're losing oxygen, because you're not breathing. Well, then you need to say, let me breathe. That's when you're on the range you can stop and say, let me breathe. In a critical incident, you can't. So, again, the thing about breathing, don't forget to breathe. Don't stop breathing. And a lot of people will say if you pull the trigger when you're not breathing for a second, it'll improve your accuracy. Now, I'm not a big, you have to shoot perfect every time you pull the trigger. I'm okay if you can hit a pumpkin head. If you can pull the trigger and hit a pumpkin, I'm okay. Because if you can hit my chest area, and we'll talk about target selection later if you're shooting somebody, about critical areas, the fatal T, the fatal triangle, all those other things. But when you want to hit somebody, I want to hit body mass. Okay? So if you can hit a pumpkin, you're probably going to be able to hit a person. So I'm okay with a pumpkin. Now, is it better And we used to do this in the military, and some of the cops who were better shooters who have competition. We'd take an expended round, we'd stick it in a target and see who could shoot the round out. We'd move it out that kind of distance, and if you make your bullet hit this, you're making your bullet pretty much hit the same size of the bullet. So that's a pretty good little exercise. You want to go out there and shoot things, stick a round in your target, in a tree, on the ground somewhere, and make yourself hit that target. The smaller you train, the easier it is to hit bigger. If I train, in the military I was on a shooting team, we used to go around and compete with other people and shoot. We'd get relief duty 6 months and do nothing but shoot for 6 months. It's great. Go to the gym, work out, shoot, and everything. All these other guys are working their ass off. I'm out here shooting. Anyway, when I was on that team for a couple, 3 years, we would go out and shoot, and man, I'm telling you, we would do all kind of things trying to get smaller than what we were going to compete at. If our competition, if we had to hit a 6-inch plate, they would have these 6-inch plates lined up. We'd be at a distance you'd have to draw and drop. They'd fall when you'd hit them. And you drop them, run to the next station, drop them, run to the next station. If we were shooting at a 6-inch plate, we trained on a 4-inch plate. Because if we could do it at a 4-inch plate, then the 6-inch plate became easier. When it became easier, guess what? Our time went down. And in a shooting competition, they go with hits first normally, and then time second. Whoever gets the most hits wins, because hits more important. But if it's a tie between hits, they go who got the hits quicker. So if you can shoot a 4-inch plate, you're going to probably be able to hit a 6-inch plate. If I can shoot a pumpkin, I'm probably going to hit a body. Most people are bigger than a pumpkin. Now, if you got some watermelon head and you want to use a watermelon, I don't care. If you think you're running across a bunch of little people with apple heads, then you can start training with apples. I don't care, but I'm just telling you, what you train with smaller, you can hit larger easier. So that's why if you can shoot something at a distance of 50 feet, you're going to be able to shoot it at 25 feet. Most shootings happen between 5 to 12 feet. That's a statistic everywhere. Cops, most shootings happens very close range, especially with pistols. Now, if I'm in a rifle in a sniper position, I'm taking out targets 500-600 yards, a mile away, well, obviously, then the distance doesn't matter. But I'm in a secure position. I'm not worried about defense. I'm not worried about moving. I'm just sitting in my position, getting my sight and squeezing off my trigger. Then you get into a lot of other things. Wind, weather, the heat of the day. Heat rises. If it's cold, the thickness of the air, is it foggy? The farther out the bullet goes, the more factors affect how that bullet flies. The shorter the distance, the shorter. The heavier the bullet, the less those factors do it. If I'm shooting a light bullet, it's going to be affected much more than a heavy bullet. The faster a bullet will affect the weight, won't drop as quick. If I push 2 bullets the same thing, and I'm pushing one 2,000 feet per second and one 1,000, the 2,000 foot's going to go straighter longer than the 1,000, even though they're the same weight. How I got on bullets, I don't know. I tend to jump around. I like to chase rabbits in the field, as they say. So anyway, back to breathing. Breathing isn't that critical unless you get out to long distance, when you've got all these other factors involved. When you're shooting a pistol, as long as you're not, then it's going to affect you. If you're holding your breath, you take a big breath, you're holding it, now you're going to get tremors and you're shaking and you're freaking, now you're out of breath. Now you got to catch your breath. Then it's going to affect you. So is breathing important? Not real important. The basic rule of thumb, when you're holding your gun, if you notice you're going up and down as you're breathing, they say breathe in, exhale halfway, stop, squeeze the round off, and then start breathing again. The problem with that is most people, when they stop breathing, they get off target, they try to get on target, next thing you know they're holding their breath for 10, 15, 20 seconds, and you start getting effects of that. So that's breath control. Hopefully I didn't go off too much of a tangent and get you all lost. Which I tend to do. So breath control, remember all the fundamentals, we're covering them one by one. They all have to come together, they all have to come second nature. You don't want to have to think about these things. Grip, stance, trigger control, sight alignment, sight picture, breathing. All these things go into making you a good, accurate shooter, good, consistent shooter, and the more you do it, the more it becomes second nature, instinctual, the more it becomes easier. You don't have to think about it. When you don't have to think about it, you do it quicker. When you do it quicker, your odds of surviving is better. And that's what I'd hope people get out of this, is the way to survive and survive a high-risk critical incident or a life-and-death situation. Hope that helps, buddy, Mr. T. You're good boys.